Welcome to another Auto Spec Renew video. Today we are in Denver again, visiting classic EV conversions. So, hi guys.
Hey.
Yeah, so it's been a while, and you have clearly outgrown the previous location where I visited you, which was your own garage.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Here we are, fantastic location. So where are we, and what as you guys have been doing since we last saw?
So we are in Centennial, Colorado. We have definitely upgraded a little bit from a home garage. Currently, we are just building all the fun projects for customers. So here we have a 1991 Chevy S10. It has a Tesla large drive unit in it, paired to independent rear suspension from a BMW E30.
Okay.
So we actually found the car with the same wheelbase and bolt pattern, and it happened to be an old BMW. And that was the best way to kind of pair everything up with the independent suspension for the motor.
Perfect. So we'll come back to this in a second, because you have a genius way of implementing the battery pack in the truck. Let's go back to when you started. What were your first build, and where you're taking this business to?
So the first builds my daughter and I worked on together was a '69 Volkswagen Beetle that we just did a simple Hyper 9 conversion, which took us. It probably took us about 8 or 12 months to get completed.
Okay.
Got that completed, and then we really got the bug, so to speak.
Yeah, literally, right?
Yeah. So,
But to be fair, 9 months is quite a short time when it's a first build. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's quite good. Yeah.
Yeah, and never having done it, been car guys all our lives. Well, both of us, but got the idea that hey, this has feet to it. I think we could create a business out of this. Reached out to my brother, who is Nick's dad, and said, hey, is anyone in the family interested in starting this business with me? And Nick and I got engaged. We got up and did a whiteboard session. So 2 of the original whiteboards are still here.
Still got the same whiteboards.
Where we penned it out and said, hey, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? What are we going to build? And was it in that very first trip?
I think it was the first trip. I think it was after dinner.
It was March of 2020, before the world fell apart with COVID. And we were discussing the next build, and we said, well, what if we did the Fiero? And we did a Tesla drive unit.
Why would you do a Fiero?
Why not, right?
So there's stories behind that Fiero. I first owned a Fiero back in 1992, and it was, to me at that time, a hot car. And I thought I was cool. I thought the car was cool. And I've owned a bunch of cars since that time that are much cooler than a Fiero, but somehow the Fiero is still one of my favorites. So after dinner that night, we decided, well, let's take the engine out of the Fiero and get it ready to do a conversion.
Okay.
And we went out to the garage, took the engine out, took the whole drivetrain out, took the gas tank, everything out.
So I just had it all out by midnight, and then we had an empty car. And we're like, well, can't go back now.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, here we are.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And now we're building a second one.
Yes.
So
If
once
one was not enough.
right, once Fiero people hear that you convert them, they find you.
Yeah. It's funny how certain business manage to find a niche market, and then you just grow a business out of it. So
Yeah,
Fiero it is.
it is crazy. We never expected to build another Fiero.
All right. And again, we'll come back to this one and discuss the different component you'll be using. But this is one of the original builds you've done. That's your shop van. Yep. So let's see what you've got under the hood.
All right, so this is our shop truck. It's a 1968 Volkswagen Transporter, similar to the original Bug that we built. After we built the Fiero, we were like, we need a shop truck, and we went back to our roots of a Hyper 9. So we built this with the standard Hyper 9 that is paired to the original manual transmission, as well as a 10 Tesla module battery pack for 53 kilowatts. That just gives us a range of about 130 miles and lets us pick up all the parts and tools and everything we need. So this is kind of like a tribute back to the original Bug that we built, and it was a lot of fun to get back into something that was a fun, straightforward. We put it together and just enjoyed it.
So you did learn a lot from this system and setup.
Yeah, learned a ton.
Could you review all the different like BMS and other components you used in this particular build?
So in this particular build is a very, very basic Hyper 9 conversion. So we just have the standard net gain Hyper 9 motor with the Hyper 9 controller as well. As far as the batteries and management go, all the batteries have the original control boards in them, but no BMS in it at the moment. And they're all just cooled with a temp sensor and a control fan that monitors the temperature and everything to maintain the temperature of the batteries.
What about charging?
It has a standard Elcon charger on a J1772. You can charge it full about overnight. It takes about 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
And yeah, that's about it.
Perfect setup for a local van.
Yeah. Very straightforward.
What's funny is we have several other pickup trucks at our disposal, but when we moved to this shop, the convenience of this bed design in this 68 Volkswagen is pretty incredible, such that we did most of the move in this.
Yeah, they should build new trucks with beds that big.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to the Fiero and tell us the drivetrain you will be using, because it's not just a smaller, older school system you're going for.
Correct. So we will actually be doing a full Tesla swap in the Fiero. So we're going to be using a Tesla small drive unit that we can show you over there, paired with a full Tesla battery pack. So 16 Tesla 5.3 kilowatt modules. There will be 11 of them back in the back with the 5 more in the front. We also utilize a Gen 2 Tesla charger along with a Tesla battery heater. We pair that up with a J1772 charge port and Tesla DC to DC and the whole 9 yards. Pretty much pulled every part we could from the Tesla when we built our original car, and doing the same thing with this one, pairing it with some Speed Hut gauges to work with our Orion BMS and give you all the displaying and monitoring. And so the goal is to make it look as original as possible, just with all the nice electric
Just
features
way quicker.
Way quicker, yeah.
What about the battery management and the cooling system?
Yep, so for battery management, we use the Orion BMS, and we also use a dual cooling system. So we have 2 radiators. One system is the loop for the batteries, and then we have a separate loop that cools the motor that can also be toggled between the charger as well when you're charging.
And those modules you will install in 2 packs that you will custom made?
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Yep, so we fabricate all the battery packs and everything in-house. So those are actually being cut at the moment, and once we get those, we'll weld them all up and get them mounted in the car.
All right. So this is your second Fiero build, as we've said. How long do you think it will take to do the whole conversion?
So on this conversion right now, start to finish, we have it estimated at 6 months.
Wow, that's pretty quick. Yeah.
So it'll be fun to build another one. We started taking it apart, and we're like, we already built one. This is like, we could do this blindfolded. We took that car apart about 1,000 times.
Yeah. Did you discover anything different from this one and the one you already built, or it is exactly the same setup?
Funny enough, besides the body style being different, everything else under the hood is identical. There are a few little things that you notice on the interior that you're like, oh, that's in a different spot. But the main center bones of the body of the car are all the same.
Was this a manual or automatic car?
It was a manual.
Okay.
Yep. So we dropped out the motor and trans and all the components, and to our surprise, we probably did it faster than we did the first one.
What about the braking system? Any upgrade?
So as of now, we're going to keep original brakes with a hydraulic brake booster that puts out about 2,000 PSI, so it makes the brakes feel like brand new. We also have the option to upgrade to, they have a 13-inch big brake kit for the Fieros.
Okay.
So that's an option that we can put on it, but as of now, we're sticking with the originals.
And using a smaller drive unit, you don't have to do any modification to the width of the rear drivetrain?
Correct.
It will stay as it is?
Yep, so the width all stays exactly how it is. So the drive unit actually gets mounted right in here. We rebuild the rear cradle of the vehicle, and then after we rebuild the rear cradle, we mount it in there, and we put the batteries above the drive unit.
It's surprisingly big considering how compact the car is, but you have plenty of room. You still have room for your golf clubs.
Exactly, right?
It was a
Some people say
requirement
we
in
were
the-
crazy, but we were actually kind of strategic about the first one, right?
It was a requirement in the first build that we maintain the trunk, and we can go look at that one too. But yes, like you said, it's a big area back here. We managed to fit 11 batteries in back here, like Nick has said.
So how much heavier does the car become once it's converted?
It is.
So we had to weigh it in to get it registered, because we registered the Fiero as an electric vehicle in Colorado, and it weighed in about 850 pounds heavier than stock.
All right.
I think the total weight was 3680 or 50?
35, yeah, 3590 or something
like that. Yeah.
So going back to the drivetrain, what type of power output do you expect to get?
So out of this, the Tesla smaller drive unit, we expect to get about 350 horsepower out of it, which in such a light and nimble car is enough to knock your socks off, which is a blast.
Compared to the 135 horsepower gas engine that was originally in the car.
When it was new.
Yes.
When it was new, right?
Yeah. So you'll be running a 400 volt system. Is there anything else we needed to cover as far as the high voltage or low voltage setup?
No, for the most part, it's a very well contained and build with all the Tesla components. High voltage, junction box, and the whole 9 yards is really well.
We did put in a 400 volt heater in the other Fiero, and we'll do the same thing here, replacing the original cabin heater.
Yep.
In Colorado, it gives you year-round drivability.
Exactly, yeah. You should be ready in about 6 months, as you said earlier. And how much is the cost for a full-on conversion to this standard?
From a full-on conversion, you drop it off. We'll have it back to you in 6 months, ready to go. It's right at $93,000.
All right.
Start to finish.
Pretty much the price of a new Tesla, but you get something arguably much
Exactly.
cooler.
Exactly, right? It's just a Tesla with a cooler, different body on it, you know? It gives you that old nostalgia feel. And yeah, everyone has a Tesla nowadays, right?
Talking about nostalgia, you have something quite nice here also. Completely new project, completely new technical aspect to it. But let's review it. Tell us about your customers that wanted this mini truck done. And maybe it's a new niche you can be covering, because a lot of people love their mini truck.
Yeah, the S10 is such a great platform to begin with, especially with the layout and the design of the vehicle. So whenever we started this project, he wanted the large Tesla drive unit, wanted the power and everything that gave him, and then we wanted the range of a full Tesla battery pack. So keeping that in mind when we started designing the vehicle, we also, being a much lowered S10 than factory, he's actually considering putting airbags on it so he can slam it down like a lowrider. So we wanted to keep, center of gravity in mind, and keeping the bed open for any hydraulics or anything that needs to go in the bed, or just usability. So with that in mind, we mounted the motor paired to BMW independent rear suspension. That allows us to easily mount it underneath the bed without intruding into the bed at all. And then after that, we started designing the battery boxes. And the biggest thing was maintaining that bed space and making the truck fully usable and functional in every way. And that's where we came up with doing a similar skid plate design to the original Tesla Model S, Model X, Model 3s. So we designed this skid plate here that is actually going to go right under in between the frame rails. So if you look down under there, it'll fit right up in between there with multiple cross braces to hold it right up in there. Along with this back section is going to stack batteries right there, right under the front of the bed.
So the weight will be all the way down,
Yep.
just like an OEM car, an EV. And that's a fantastic way to fit those battery modules. So how many of them, tell us about the system also, as far as the battery capacity, charging, cooling that you'll be using.
Yep, so this is actually going to have a full 85 kilowatt Tesla battery pack. It's going to be a 400 volt system, and we're hoping that we'll get about a 200-mile range on it. We'll see, or once we do some testing and everything like that. As for the battery management, we're actually going to be using the Vero BMS. It's actually a new component that we're testing out, and as of now, we're loving every part about it.
Excellent.
So we traditionally used the Orion, and we discovered the Vero, so we're going to give it a try.
Perfect.
So we're working on that one.
A lot less wiring on the Vero.
Yeah, a lot less wiring. That's one of the main reasons we're giving it a shot. And then as far as cooling and everything goes, we're gonna have dual radiators up here in the front to do the traditional cooling, so a loop for the batteries and a loop for the motor and chargers and everything like that. Charging wise, we're probably going with the 10 kilowatt Gen 2 Tesla charger, just because that's one of the highest kilowatt chargers that we can find on the market at the moment for doing two-phase charging and getting the batteries charged as quick as possible, other than CCS. Down the road, he has intentions of going to CCS, so we'll plan on adding that in at some point, along with AC and heat and the whole 9 yards.
All right.
The gentleman who owns this truck for a living sells DC fast chargers.
Okay.
So he is inclined to want to be able to DC fast charge this vehicle as well.
Makes sense, yeah. So do you have solution for DC fast charging already?
So for DC fast charging, we're probably going to go with Felton EV, who sells DC fast charging with CCS. Or there are a couple of other companies we've been talking to about possibly using theirs, such as Amp4 EV.
So were this truck pretty good with the low voltage system, or are you also redoing all the low voltage system?
So the main harness for the interior and all the traditional low voltage components is in great condition, so we don't have to replace any of that. So all the low voltage components we'll be adding are our microcontrollers for our BMS and the brakes and all the different things like that, such as doing speed hut gauges as well in it. But yeah, thankfully all the original low voltage components are intact and able to use.
So how do you see the market for mini trucks and trucks in general to be converted?
I think it's great. We actually started this build, and now we have a second one already lined up after it. And it's his name is Old Black, as they call it. So that Old Black will be coming in here after this guy is done. And it'll be a very similar conversion. We're going to go a little bit different route. That one's going to be 4x4 lifted.
Okay, all right.
He's going to take it up in the mountains of Colorado.
Okay.
So,
did you look into the total weight of the truck once it's completed?
we haven't looked in it too much yet, as we weren't able to weigh the whole rear end with the independent rear suspension. So we're planning on putting on scale weights, and once it's fully done, getting a good idea what it is.
Okay. And you opted for this suspension setup. Was it a requirement from the customer, something you wanted to bring because the extra weight, or just to bring a better road handling?
So the main choice that we went with this suspension is he wanted the Tesla large drive unit, and using the Tesla large drive unit, as they're mounted in Teslas, they have independent rear suspension because it kind of acts like a traditional differential. With that in mind, this originally had a solid axle. So we went the way with the independent rear BMW suspension because it was the same bolt pattern, which is crazy to find, and the same exact track width as well.
Perfect, yeah.
So it was a perfect fit for the build, and it accommodated the Tesla motor perfectly.
All right, so thank you for this introduction to your current project. But going back to the business, what does it take to create a business like this? What are the key success you would like to achieve in the near future, and maybe what is your secret sauce?
I don't know how much of a secret sauce there is. It was quite a challenge and interesting going from a small garage and then getting to where we are now. I would definitely say Tim has a lot of experience in business industry, so it was helpful with that.
We came in first and we set up the shop. We said, okay, we need, we built a few other cars using nothing but a 4-post lift. And we said, well, we've got a 4-post, let's get another 4-post to maximize the space in the shop. But then we said, to do these builds, we really need a 2-post lift. Mm-hmm. So we got the 2-post lift, and like everything we do, we say, well, we don't need somebody to install this. We can install this ourselves, and we can run the electrical ourselves, and we can do all this stuff ourselves. So we spent a lot of time getting the shop set up. And then after you get the shop set up, you're like, you know what? We might need a business license.
Yep.
We might need some general liability insurance.
Yeah.
We might need all the things to be, a grown-up company.
Yeah. So it becomes more real that you're a business.
Very quickly.
Exactly. And
but still exciting. Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
So what would be your best advice for someone, starting a business like you did?
Oh, I think my best advice would be start building and start doing, and then as you put your pants on one leg at a time. Same thing with the company. You start doing it, and then you're like, all right, what's the next step? You're like, okay, you get your business license, you get your insurance, and you get everything to cover you as you slowly build cars and grow.
Yeah, the customers came quicker than we thought they were going to, and we didn't do as much advertising and much work at trying to get customers. They've just kind of come to us, such that we had people giving us deposit checks, and while we had the name of the company established, we didn't have insurance, we didn't have tax ID, we didn't have lots of different things that we said, oh geez, let's not cash that check yet. Let's do these steps first, and before you knew it, we were moving on down the road.
Was there any big challenge that could have slowed the growth of the company? What was it?
I mean, we kind of struggled a bit with insurance. Insurance was a tough challenge, just because we go to insurance providers. We're like, hey, we have a company. We convert classic cars to electric, and the first thing they go is, oh, I saw a Tesla catch on fire, and they freak out, and everyone's like, okay, then how are you going to prevent this, and how are you going to cover us, and how, like all the things like that. Yeah. And we went back and forth with, how many people did we?
Boy, we went to 3 or 4 different agents, and we only got 1.5 quotes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, at least you got one. That's all you need.
Yes,
right. Yes. Just takes one. Takes one.
So, are they just worried about regulation or training in the business? It's just a big question mark for them. That's the main issue.
And there's not a whole lot of training out there, right? You are well aware of several companies that do that, as we are as well. But it's such a new industry, even though it's not.
Yeah. Right?
I'd call it at least 10 years old, if not older. But there's not a lot of industry schooling out there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of learn as you go and a lot of teach yourself.
Where do you see the company going in the next 12 to 24 months? Are you going to take more staff in, doing more projects? Mm-hmm. Are you working outside of the car conversion world? Are you doing boats, planes, stuff like that?
I would say next 12 to 24 is definitely growing the staff, growing the team. Ideally, we would grow into a larger shop at that point, so then we can do multiple builds easier at a time. As of now, we kind of shuffle them around and kind of play with toy cars as we push them all around to build the cars. So in the next 12 to 24 would be to grow the team, grow the shop, and just slowly grow the company. We're mainly focusing on staying in the vehicle industry. We've kind of tossed around some thoughts of other things would be cool electric as well. But as of now, we're mainly aiming and sticking with the car industry. So, anything else that you can think of?
No, I think we want to get better and better at what it is we're doing, and like I said, some business is just coming to us right now, which is awesome. But there is still an element of us trying to figure out who we want to be when we grow up, and I don't think we figured it out yet.
Not fully, no. We're still getting there.
I have a last question for you. So we're here in Denver again, and there's a lot of shops and people designing systems or converting cars. Way more than any other city I can think of. Do you know why this is the case?
I don't really know. Colorado has just kind of been almost like a hot spot for EVs, and it kind of blew me off guard, and I was like, okay. And I think it might just be everyone here wants to be clean and eco-friendly, and they also love the classics and beautiful weather to enjoy your car. And I think it's kind of just those 2 pieces of the puzzle fell together, and you're like, oh, now you got old classic electric vehicles.
Perfect mix. Anything else you wanted to add? Where should we check you out?
Yeah, check us out on Instagram or Facebook at Classic EV Conversions. You can also check out the website at www.c-ev-c.com.
All right, good stuff. Guys, if you like what you saw today, let us know in the comments below. If you want us to visit more shops like this one, let us know. Give us a thumbs up. And guys, we'll see you in the next one.